This is Geek Gab with your hosts, John and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Saturday, April 30th, 2022. I'm trying to think of something witty to say, but the only thing that's coming to mind is that, man, Twitter is jumping recently.
Twitter's on fire, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming back who had been either kicked off or had left, and they're all coming back, and it's kind of weird to see. I'm I'll be honest, I'm expecting Milo to walk through the door any day now.
Now something happened to precipitate that.
Uh yeah, everybody thinks it's like completely a done deal, but it's just it's not
Agreement.
yet. Yeah, it's agreement, and it's an agreement with hefty penalties. All these people who are high on copium, they're saying like, "Oh, Elon Musk is buying. He said he's buying Twitter, but he changes his mind all the time, so he's not really going to be buying Twitter." Like, they're actually publishing articles about this. Um, but here's the thing: there is on both sides $1 billion penalty that if you pull out of the deal, you owe the other side $1 billion. Now, I don't know about you, but even somebody that's super rich can't just afford to squander $1 billion on, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that. That's like federal government money. That's the only people who could afford to say, oh, that was a mistake. I didn't really mean that. And the federal government does that an awful lot.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
I mean, especially in military procurement, they do that an awful lot. They get to the end of it and they say, oh, boy, that was a mistake. I think that's coming with the F-35, by the way.
Oh yeah.
They're uh, they're researching how to create a next gen F-16 and doing all kinds of stuff that look like the F-35 is just not going to cut it uh, as the fighter jet they were selling it as. But anyways, I don't think Elon Musk is going to pull out, but the deal is not officially closed for 6 months. So he isn't actually technically owning Twitter yet, but uh, people are. You remember Argo? Did you ever see Argo?
No.
No.
Are you talking about
Shame.
that's the Ben Affleck movie, right?
Yeah, it's about getting the hostages out of Iran. Well, there's this one scene where they know for a fact that the embassy is about to be taken by terrorists, right? By these Iranian terrorists. And so they are running around like mad, getting all of the classified documents out of drawers, file cabinets, and everywhere, and just burning them en masse, throwing them into furnaces, burning them in, waste paper baskets, ensuring that none of this classified information goes to the Iranians. So that's what Twitter's doing before before Elon shows up and can demand it. They're turning off all the shadow bans. They're unbanning all the people they kicked off. They are doing everything they can to make it seem like they never did all the crap they clearly did. So,
Well,
like,
that's funny. That's funny because, like you said, it hasn't even happened yet. It will happen. It looks like it's going to happen, but they're just preemptively before anybody actually sees anything. All of a sudden, people who are shadow banned for forever, for years, they're having their followers tell them, "Oh, hey, I can see your posts now."
yep, literally happened to me. Uh, Somebody said, "Wow, I haven't seen your tweets in years." Um, uh, just twice. I'm not saying it was a blizzard of people. coming on. I just twice so far. I'm not trying to over exaggerate how oppressed I was under the Twitter system. But I had a whole account I abandoned. I had a 12,000 follower account I abandoned because A, I was shadow banned, and B, I was throttled with my followers. Every time I would gain followers, I would lose an equal amount, and so I couldn't progress. So I walked away from a 12,000 follower account and have earned up to where I am right now, which is not 12,000, just person by person again, the hard way. I'm not complaining, you know. I'm a big boy. I can take my lumps. Um, but like all of a sudden, all these left wing accounts are complaining about losing vast numbers of followers, and they're all bots that have gotten kicked off.
And
But
they're so traumatized by the Twitter environment of 2014 to 2016 that their old boogeyman, the far right Nazis, are going to come back to Twitter, with Uncle Elon's blessing. They're terrified of the boogeyman.
um, so Twitter's been kicking off bots that they knew about, bot followers that they could have been kicking off any time before, but they weren't. So all these left wing accounts have been losing bots, and then all of a sudden, major right wing accounts or dissident accounts, people who aren't right wing but dissented against the prevailing orthodoxy, have been gaining, you know, literally tens of thousands of followers in one day, just through the roof. James Woods gained 30,000 followers in one day.
Well, that guy already had half of Twitter following him.
Yeah, so it's just it's astonishing. And then like accounts with big numbers who got banned just are getting letters from Twitter or trying to sign in and finding, messages that say, "Oh yeah, we had banned you for this, but we decided we're not going to suddenly anymore for literally no reason." They have no reason. Just Twitter saying, "No, you're not banned anymore." Mombot, I don't know if you remember Mombot, is
Sure.
back. Uh, got back on yesterday, I think. Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of people uh, who you may have been following. I found out that now that Mombot is back, I'm automatically refollowing. So yeah, that's cool. Some people who are really really cool. Glomar is back. I don't know if I should say that because that's on the shady side of Twitter. Well, that's okay. I think we're on the shady side of the internet technically. Uh, yeah, somebody was asking about something and I shared it and I'm like, yeah, I've got friends in low places. And then I stopped and realized that this message board I was on for like 10 years now. Uh, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a friend in low places.
I'm that guy. I'm the
I'm
guy
that
Garth Brooks was singing about.
guy. So yeah, it's just funny to watch. It's been an amusing week. It's been highly entertaining. And Elon Musk has clicked into high gear on the quote unquote fun posting. So that's been entertaining too. And this lady just goes out there and says, "I'm blocking Elon Musk." And I'm like, why? He is literally not doing anything except posting funny things and occasionally memes and just expressing the most harmless opinions. Uh, I disagree with a lot of what he's saying, but it's like he's not saying anything that's offensive. He's not saying anything that's even borderline offensive. They're completely like normie opinions. I mean, they're innocuous opinions that any one of a number of people would hold. Like today, he said, "Wellbutrin is worse than Adderall. It should be taken off the market." I've talked to a bunch of people, and every time Wellbutrin comes up, somebody has a suicide or near suicide story. That's the entire tweet. why you gonna block a man for saying that? Unless
Right.
you're really, really angry about Wellbutrin. I can see that. It's personal for you, but that's just a normie opinion. That's just, man, you should see the stuff that comes across my feed.
I should not.
Yeah,
My mental
you
health
might
is better
both.
that way.
You probably shouldn't. He's right. It's probably not stuff. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's been a fun week on Twitter.
Wow. Absolutely crazy. I love hearing stuff like that happening on Twitter. Because the world is crazy, and I like it when it gets a little bit crazier.
Diablo. The official Diablo account from Blizzard tweeted out this week that Twitter has always been hell and always will be.
That's cute.
And I think that just caps off the week. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. How was your week, man?
My week's good. Not much to tell on the home front. Things are doing well at home. I have once again dived deeper into the nuts and bolts of managing a NPC or a high level PC in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It's it's been a lot of fun, and to be honest, if you want to win, you know what I'm talking about. If you want to win at RPGs, you can put in a lot of work. It doesn't seem like it at first, but if Macho Mandolf has taught us anything, it's that there's a lot of rules you can bend to your will to get stuff done. And if a low effort game master can just deal with the random tables and make stuff up as they go, and that's perfect for session play. That's exactly what you want. But if you're sitting down with an army or a bunch of resources or some land, some hexes, if you will, on the world map, there's a lot of management you can do or need to do to be successful with that character and that setup. And that's been a very uh, entertaining and rewarding endeavor, if time consuming. And I'm not going to go into too much detail. Let's just say that I've got an army of dwarves and I'm trying to figure out what to do with them.
And you're slowly building a dungeon.
Indeed. Um, the mining rules in particular, I have to give a shout out. I just saw this week a brilliant video by The Joy of Wargaming. I should put a link into the show notes. He did another How to Win at RPGs post that sort of ties everything together that we've been talking about for weeks. And he mentions the mining rules. You know, if you want to dig tunnels, or and this sounds really silly and mundane, right? But if you want to dig tunnels, or if you want to just mine for gems and precious metals, you know, we've got rules for that. Like this role playing game, this Dungeon Master Guide, it's a complete game. And yeah, if you want to take advantage of that, you can build a dungeon, and the game master has just offloaded all that work to you, and it didn't cost. You didn't have to buy a module or anything like that. And I think what makes it cooler is that it's organic. It's like part of your world. It's not a module that you purchased and you dropped into your world, which that's pretty common and recommended. But having someone come in and say, "Hey, oh, you want me to represent this what effectively is just a random encounter of dwarves." That's all it is. It just in the monster manual rolled up 300 dwarves and said, "Okay, this is you." Right? You can do so much more than just be an annoying wandering army. You can actually add to the game. It's cool. It's cool. I'm gushing. I'll stop.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
want it.
Macho Mandolf also taught us that the cream always rises to the top. Chat loves Broazar.
I don't want to go into this, except to say that I got my licks in on this argument early, and then left. And then it apparently grew big enough to encompass all of TTRPG Twitter. But I'd already had the argument and walked away, and I apparently I missed all the super arguments, and I'm just happy about that. That I was early in, early out.
Hey, I've been back on TTR, or I've been back on Twitter a little bit in the past couple of weeks, and TTRPG is one of the worst
Yeah.
hashtags.
Oh, I got a rant. Oh,
Bring
but
it.
anyways, they had another few days of. There's this artist on Twitter. Pronouns in the bio. PIB. I found out what that means this week, so now I can use that slang, and it's pronouns in the bio, um, which automatically tells you really almost everything you need to know. Um,
Oh yeah.
and uh, this artist likes drawing orcs, like, you know, hot female orcs. Okay.
Everybody's got a thing. All right.
And it's a she her. Those are her pronouns. Uh, I don't know if it's actually a guy because it's the internet. Um,
There are no girls on the internet.
that's what they tell me. I'm I'm willing to take that as a very solid starting point. Um, but she said, I just hate it when I go around to all these dungeon masters and they don't let me play a pacifist orc.
Yeah, okay, that statement's just absurd on its face.
And that's all it took. Now, admittedly, I don't think it was meant as bait, but it became bait. And I just said, look, orcs are monsters and they're evil. You know, I'm not going to look up my actual tweet. Um, but, you know, don't complain about the way DMs are running their games. You know, if you want to make up your own world, make orcs be whatever you want to be, but those game masters are running orcs the way they are. Uh, and then I had a bunch of people. I engaged a bunch. I had like 3 people respond to that who were trying to be 4. I had 4 people respond to that. 3 of them trying to be kind of argumentative, but would at least listen to my responses and respond like a decent person. And another one who was clearly disingenuous and just wanted a chance to rant. So I ignored that one and answered the other 3, and went through it. They were asking me, well, what about this and that? I said, well, look, if you're playing Warhammer, yeah, orcs have a culture and they're people. They're not monsters, they're people. For those of you in the crowd who know what I'm talking about, um, orcs are not, we're going to go with Torg here, specifically Isle. Their magic system, there's an arcane knowledge called folk, and folk are people. They are all the races that are like humans. So, like, humans are folk, Vulcans would be folk, Klingons would be folk, orcs, the always evil monster race, are not folk, But Warcraft, or excuse me, yeah, Warcraft. World of Warcraft and Warcraft orcs would be folk because they built them that way. Shadowrun orcs are folk. They're people you can have, pacifist Shadowrun orcs. Earth Dawn orcs are folk. You can have pacifist Earth Dawn orcs. But if you're playing AD&D First Edition, no, that's what orcs are. They're monsters. Sorry, you don't get to play a pacifist orc in that game, um, unless the game master has chosen to do things different. But that was my main point: was stop complaining about what game masters do. If they don't want pacifist orcs, then they don't want pacifist orcs. And then someone who follows me, and I can't remember the name right now, much apologies, said, well, plus, you're an adventurer. You go out and hunt down monsters and kill them and take their treasure. Why the hell do you want to be a pacifist? Why? What are you going to do? What are you going to use, man? Harsh language? So, yeah. I got my licks in and walked away, but apparently it got huge and spread all across TTRPG Twitter again, and it was big and unpleasant, and people were really, really unhappy about it. And I was just like, oh, well, I'm really glad I missed that. And it all came back to that tweet. That was the funny thing about it. This wasn't a tweet in response to the already burning controversy. This is the tweet that had kicked it all off again. And I just thought that was hilarious. So I got one other role-playing thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I want to read this tweet. Actually, it was really easy to find because it's from my timeline, but it was easy to scroll down to. The Reckless Attack Podcast. A TTRPG interview show from the Foundation for Inclusivity in Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Now that should tell you everything you need to know if you're familiar with the jargon of people. Our latest Reckless A-Talk featuring Allies Nerd of Play Nerd Allies and the Foundation for Inclusivity in Gaming is out. We talk growing up nerdy, decolonizing the space, telling big stories, and saving lives with TTRPGs. Visit our main feed or the link below and listen now. So, excuse me while I take a sip of water. Here's my response on my tweet. None of these people are real role gamers. They are posers. Just look at the language they use. They have no love for the hobby, just for the virtue signaling. They talk about decolonizing the space. The only people colonizing this space are the people who hate the hobby, who hate the players of the hobby, and who want to, and so they're the ones colonizing this hobby. They hate the hobby because They hate everything the hobby has been about. They refer to evil monsters as a tired old trophy. Trophy is just another word for cliche, but they can't use cliche because it doesn't make them sound smart enough. Cliche is a word that anybody can use because everybody knows what the word cliche means, but tropey is kind of a more obscure word that only a few people use. And it's common among us, people who listen to this show and people in the Pulpreb and Broasar and other places online, but normal people don't know what it means. So it makes you sound smart. And that's the only reason they use tropey is so they can sound smart. It's a contemptible word if you just mean cliche and you don't want to use it. Back to my other rant. Um, they hate evil races because it's a tired old cliche. But I'm just going to use cliche because I don't need to make myself sound smart. People who are genuinely smart don't need to make themselves sound smart. Um, these people want to change everything about the hobby because they don't actually love role gaming. They don't actually love playing the games. They don't actually love D&D. They don't actually love RuneQuest. They don't actually love Call of Cthulhu. They hate them because all they do is complain about uh, the usual array of things this type of people complain about. Apparently, this show is going to be a lot more political than usual. I apologize. That's just the way things rolled on Twitter this week. We usually stay away from the politics, but we're going to have to dip a little bit this week because I love role gaming and I love role playing games. Um, and these people have ticked me off this week, and so I'm going to rant about it. Um, these are not planned or scripted, so you just get this today. Um, they hate the hobby because they accuse all the games of being sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic. Um, those are all the ones I can think of now, but there's a list. And the list just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. Um, and they want to change them all. They want to take away everything that this that not only defines the hobby of role gaming, that defines the very fiction that inspired the hobby. Matthew Martin in the chat, ableist, colonialist. So all the pulp books, John Carter of Mars, um, everything in Appendix N, they they just want to get rid of it and change it all and throw it all away in the trash. Um, and suppress it because they hate it. Um, and they accuse all these works of being all this bad stuff and want to edit them or just get rid of them or completely. So they hate the hobby. So that's the number one thing. They're coming into the hobby hating all of it and wanting to change all of it. Then they're coming into the hobby accusing all the players of being that and generally lying about it. Oh, I'm a black person and I'm sorry, getting political here, or I'm a gay person, or I'm a woman, and I came into the hobby and all of these white male gamers just wouldn't have me at their table, which is a lie. Um, geeks are the most welcoming people on the planet. It comes from being outcasts because they like things that most people don't like. They have fun doing things that most people uh, don't do, and they're They're enthusiastic about it. And they're, if anything, more tolerant than they should be. They're more welcoming than they should be. And if you've read the geek fallacies, um, very, very sometimes mentally unwell people just get welcomed in and they put up with it, even sometimes when they shouldn't. Um, Especially women. If you're a bunch of geeks playing D&D in high school and a girl wanted to come up and play with you, you are never going to say no to that, ever. And you're not going to abuse them or make fun of them. And geeks don't care what the color of your skin is at all, ever. You want to sit down and play because you love fantasy or you love science fiction or whatever, they will welcome you in all the live long day. They don't care if you're Asian or Black or Native American or Hispanic or Indian, and I mean that from the subcontinent. They will welcome you in and have you, sit down at the table and try to help you so much if you're new to the hobby that it's almost stifling. Um, it does not matter to the geeks. So these people come into the hobby. They hate the people who play the hobby. They hate the hobby itself. They want to kick out all the people who play the hobby and they want to rewrite everything. That is colonialism. They're trying to colonize the hobby, move in, take it over, and remake it in their own image. And having not evil races, not just orcs, but not evil races, is one of the steps in colonization, one of the steps in changing everything to uh, match their agenda, to match their way of seeing things. Because fundamentally speaking, most of them don't believe in capital G good and capital E evil anyway. So there is no good and evil in the sense of alignment for D&D, and there is um you know so there is no cosmic force of good or evil that empowers or is affiliated with gods or that infuses planes or that people are infused with when they choose to behave in certain ways, when they choose an allegiance to these forces, or that literally place entire, otherwise incomprehensible languages into your brain and then erase them and replace them with brand new, entirely incomprehensible languages when you shift allegiances. Because that's what alignment languages are. They are not things you study. There's no books of vocabulary for alignment languages. They're not things you have to learn. They are not things you can teach. They're not things anybody can learn. They are just languages that are placed in your mind and erased and replaced when you change alignment. Okay? They are concrete, undeniable, solid proof that good and evil, and also law and chaos, are objectively real and have concrete tenets that affect the world. And most of these people don't believe in objective good and evil and so can't hang with it. They don't want evil races because they don't believe, fundamentally speaking, in evil. Most of them. it angers me when they is the word that's coming to mind right now, insult uh, the founders of the hobby, Arneson and Gygax, uh, the the pioneers who spread out from them, the people who wrote Tunnels and Trolls and um, all the rest of the other early games, Traveler and so forth. Um, when they insult players today, um, or players in the past, when they make up stories about them, it's just, and when they try to deform the hobby of role gaming, um, it is offensive and it is wrong. And they've been doing that this week. The orc fight was just one of them. Um, one example, and a couple weeks ago, it was accusing gamers of being racist and so on and so forth. I hate it and I will not stand for it because I love this hobby. And I am I am I take a stand for it whenever I can. Um, and I won't lie. I I like orcs as people, as folk, but that doesn't change the fact that in AD&D they are an always evil race. They are literally created by Groomish, the god of murder and slaughter, and he personally watches over each of them. And if an orc is going aberrant in the village because Groomish is real, he'll curse them, and then the rest of the society will pan- pounce on them and kill them because they worship a god of murder. Um, and I just read a couple news stories about the Maya and the Aztecs this week. So I'm going to get a little gruesome here for a second. They found what they thought was a crime scene in Mexico near the Guatemalan border. And it was 150 skulls, mostly female. And these skulls had been decapitated and put in this cave. But before they were decapitated, uh, they had knocked out all the teeth of the victims. So this is real world among human beings, and then we found pits in Mexico City where thousands and thousands of victims who had been murdered to the sun god to make sure the sun came up each day, and then their skin flayed off and the priests danced around it, and they had been cannibalized and eaten as part of this ceremony. These are real cultures of human beings, right? Now, how many quote unquote good pacifist Aztecs were there? I'm sure there were maybe a few, but where did they have the opportunity to grow up and reject their culture if they were raised in that culture and saw that as normal and had no chance to get out of it? And then where would they go? Where would they live if all the other cultures in the area were as murderous as that? Where would they separate themselves from where they wouldn't be hunted down because the Aztecs invaded everybody around them, captured them, and sacrificed them? Um, and those are people, those are folk, right? Those are not magical beings who are personally created by Groomish to be always evil and were personally watched over by their god to ensure that they're always evil or they get cursed or taken care of in other ways. So, yeah, always evil races can exist and make sense. Um, so, you just want to, all they're doing is trying to impose their morality by colonization of role gaming. And I hate it, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. Uh, I just I love this hobby, and I am going to defend it the best I can. That felt long. Did that go really long?
It went a little long. We'll let you have it though. You're allowed. It's something worth being passionate about because I think you touched on it, and I think a couple of people in chat touched on it, especially about alignment languages. There's it's not just the games that you're protecting. It is a as grown worthy as it is a culture war issue. I'm reminded of someone I was talking to about BroSR adjacent things, the OSR and the attitudes about how you play the game and how you interact with it and everything. And I asked him what he thought about, and I forget what exactly it was. Something it might have been 1-to-1 time or whatever, or the like roll 3d6 straight, high lethality OSR style game, right? And he says, I tell you, I don't like that I can tell what side of the culture war this is on, right? It's weird. It's not only, and it's not really about the game. It's about everything. It's about everything. This is another example of a group of, two groups of people that fundamentally don't see reality the same way, and they can't interact. The people who don't understand and hate the hobby, they really, as you say, they are truly colonizing the hobby because it wasn't theirs, or which is bizarre because of all of the, how should we put it, all of the liberal or left leaning or what have you type players. The hobby's full of them, always has been. We're talking about the woke. This is something crazier, something more insidious.
Yeah. When I was my first year of college, I met a bunch of new people who played role playing games. And they were all, leftists, Clinton supporters, and stuff like that. But they loved role playing. They weren't, destructive people who hated role playing and wanted to change it all for their politics. We were good friends.
Mm-hmm. So whatever's going on, it's another front. Stand up for what you believe in, and as weird as this sounds, gatekeeping is good. If gatekeeping keeps true evil out of your life and out of your hobby, do it. Yeah, they're fanatical. Thanks, Bradford Walker. It's a shame. So that was my 2 cents. That went really long, so rest assured, our handsome and intelligent audience, we are not through talking about RPGs just for this week.
Just for this week, yeah.
So what's new, DW?
I didn't realize I was that ticked off.
You just
Uh,
go with the flow.
yeah. So well, we've got just enough time to do the one review I wanted to do. Let me give you some previews real quick. Um, I watched the first episode of the last season of The Expanse, so that's my next TV show I'm watching. So hopefully, I'll have a review of that real soon. I've been watching Halo, the TV series. So I'll give you some of that coming up. Um, I've been watching Picard too. Um, and so I'll be doing a review of that coming up. Neither of those series are out; they're not finished yet, so I'm having to watch them one episode a week. Uh, that's why I'm not doing a review yet. But I have watched the last two seasons of Discovery.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay, let's hear it. Star Trek Discovery with the most unfortunate abbreviation ever.
yes, I have. Um, I want to say this about the last two seasons of Discovery. They didn't do everything wrong.
Oh, that's nice.
um, they're trying really hard to make it exciting and trying really hard to have some action and adventure in their Star Trek. But it's all kind of by rote. Like somebody told them that the adventurous stuff in Star Trek is like when the ship gets hit and things shake and there's sparks at the console and people go flying. Well, they have not just sparks coming out from the consoles, they have sparks that fly down from the ceiling, like really big sparks. Um, and then in the engine room or the engineering space, they have literal flames that shoot up out of the floor whenever they get hit hard. Like little 3, 4 inch high, maybe 5 or 6 inch high bursts of flame. And this is not when they get hit exceptionally hard. This is every single time they get hit. In Voyager and Star Trek The Next Generation. And I learned this from watching the interview with, I think it was Marina Sirtis, talking about how they were trained. They would have directions from the director. They had different gradations of this. They would shake the camera, and the cast would have to stumble back and forth when something hit the ship, right? But they would have different gradations of it, ranging from a 1 to a 10. A 1 is just a little bit of a bump, and they would practice these. They would rehearse these independent of the show so that in the show, the director would say, "Give me a 3," and they would all be on the same page and all would be stumbling about the same intensity. And the camera would be shaking appropriately so that, when something hit the ship and it was just a little shock, they'd stand in place and they'd shake just a bit. And you've seen that in a Star Trek Next Generation episode. The ship would shake just a little bit. And you'd be like, oh, okay, that's a small tremor. And you wouldn't really think about it. But then they'd have like a 5. And then people would stumble about and the camera would shake more. And then a 10 is people like getting thrown over consoles and things exploding. They don't have any gradation on Star Trek Discovery. It's all 10. all the time.
That's it. Go hard or go home.
It's and you just stop paying attention to it. It stops mattering. You're just like, oh, sparks, flames. A guy console doesn't just spark, it literally explodes. And you're like, yep, he's dead. There's no way that console didn't fling shrapnel into his face. He looks just like one of those dudes in Saving Private Ryan, okay? In the beach scene. They don't show that, but there's no way he got out of that without ending up like a Saving Private Ryan beach scene casualty. It just does not happen. And so they're trying. They're really trying hard. And I'm judging this on like one of those challenged kids in elementary school, you know, who really can't do the work, but he's trying really, really hard. And you just have to grade him on that. You know he can't do the work, so you're grading him on that. Um, they just, gosh darn it, he's trying so hard. They really are. They're really trying, but they can't do the work and they're not succeeding. They do actually have a mystery. And they actually have two mysteries, and they're even kind of mysterious. I found myself against my will loathing the entire show, or loathing the show as an entire thing, but still wanting to see the next episode. And you can't imagine the self loathing that goes with that. Knowing that this is a bad show, knowing that it's terrible on so many levels, but still wanting to see the next episode because you actually want to find out what the mystery is, knowing that it's probably going to be a stupid, lame solution to the mystery, and finally getting to the bottom of the mystery and going, yep, that was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking, wanting to see the next episode because I got to the
Wow.
bottom of the mystery finally, like 6 or 7 episodes in, and it was dumb. It was brain numbingly dumb. So they do create a sense of suspense that I don't know if it's like Stockholm syndrome mystery to where I was watching it basically for the show. Um, but I still wanted to find the answer out to the mystery. I didn't care about anything else really on the show. It's kind of hard to care about the characters, but man, did I kind of want to see the next episode to find out the next thing in the mystery. Uh, and it's a better mystery than the Red Angel mystery from season 2. Uh, I don't even remember if there was a mystery for season 1, if there was just a plot. I don't know.
It really left an impression, didn't it?
Yeah. I was literally like watching the beginning of season 3 because I'd watched 1 and 2 before, and they were saying previously on Star Trek Discovery, and they were showing me all these scenes, and I'm like, crap, I have to go back and watch season 2 because I have never seen any of this. None of this. I have never seen any of this. I must not have finished that season. And then I was watching the beginning of it, and they were showing some more scenes, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I have seen that. Literally, this is not a bit. This is not a joke. This is literally what happened. And I realized I had seen all those scenes in the like previously on Star Trek Discovery. I just didn't remember them. I I have seen like 4 full episodes with Captain Pike in the previous season, which admittedly was like 2 or 3 years ago, but I didn't remember any of them. I didn't remember hardly anything about 2 full seasons of this show. It just it drops out of your brain because there's nothing memorable about it. There's nothing good about it. Uh, it's just not terrible stuff. Um, and it's sad. They did one kind of interesting thing, and I stress kind of interesting. They're actually trying to do continuity between Picard and Star Trek Discovery. Like in Picard last season, they came up with this Romulan order who always, always, always tells the truth. Uh, they call it extreme candor, which I think they ripped off of Don't Lie to Me, which was a great show that I remember a lot about because it was a good show, even though it got canceled after the first season. And I saw that in like the early aughts. It was a good enough show. I remember it just, so you can have a comparison on my memory. It's not me going senile. It's bad show. Um, and they're like monks. And I mean that in the strictly AD&D class sense. They're like monks. But these monks, they then have that same order show up in the 4th season of Discovery uh, because continuity. And they've done that with a few things. So that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. That's actually kind of cool. They're trying to, trying to make things matter, trying to make things that happen one season matter in another season of 2 different shows. Uh, Not in a Marvel movie sense, but in an actual, continuity sense. Um, and they did some interesting things in this 4th season. They jumped to like 3000 and something AD in time. So they're far beyond the temporal Cold War that was talked about in Enterprise, and um, they did some interesting things with that. The Romulans and Vulcans actually have settled their differences the way Spock wanted them to, and are now living both together on Vulcan. Although they renamed the planet after their union of species. And I like that because I was designing a background for a Star Trek role playing game I was wanting to run, and I had the Romulans and Vulcans united. Um, and they actually had an episode called Unification 3, which Member Berries was the title of those 2 next generation episodes, Unification 1 and Unification 2, around the start when Star Trek 6 came out, the movie. Ah, continuity. It was literally a Member Berries episode. It's like, oh, here, nostalgia, like us, please. But yeah, they did a couple of nods like that. So literally, they didn't do everything bad, but
Great. That's what I want out of my entertainment. They didn't
yeah.
do everything bad.
uh, they've done a couple of interesting things. This is not a defense of the show. This is not me saying you should watch it. No. This is me telling you that other than what I'm talking about, everything else is terrible. Oh, I'm sorry, everything else is terrible. It really is.
Everything is terrible.
Someone on Twitter said, someone on Facebook said, I kind of approach your reviews like uh uh zero punctuation, and that you're a praiser by exception. If you don't mention it, it's probably good. And I'm telling you, in this case, if I'm not mentioning it, it's not good. I'm literally telling you all the good things I can remember about the series. I'm I'm done. That's it. I'm emptied out. My soul is empty. I have nothing to give. I have watched it. But I will say this about The Expanse. I really, really, really liked the first episode of the last season. It's the season 6, and it's going to be the last season of The Expanse. It's all out. So I am really sincerely hoping to get through that and watch it for next week. Um, my review of Halo is not likely to be glowing. My review of Picard is uh, um,
Yeah, it's that.
the only the metaphor that keeps coming to my mind is my review of Picard is unlikely to be described in terms like gushing and enthusiastic and happy. Yeah, yeah.
Got
Uh,
it. Well, that's okay. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch up with you on The Expanse, but I did begin the first season, and I did. I do like what I'm seeing so far.
I will tell you this. I started watching the Star Trek animated series, um, and I was happier with the credits because that's all I watched. I just watched the credits so I could put it in my Play Now queue so I would remember to watch it. I was happier with what I saw of the credits of the Star Trek animated series than I was with all of Discovery.
There it is.
That sounds really harsh, doesn't it?
If it's the truth, it's the truth.
Oh well. Sometimes when I'm doing a bad review, I feel kind of defensive for the movie because a lot of these movies are really better than I make them sound sometimes. And that's why I'll say, look, this is a qualified yes. If you like these things, you like the movie. I'm not giving a qualified anything with Discovery. I'm really not. It's not good. But
It's very not good.
there were some interesting things in it that if you have to watch it, you'll learn to appreciate the interesting and not bad bits that are there. So that's why I focus on those in the reviews of terrible things, is because those are the moments that alleviate the pain. That's a depressing thought for today.
You got me. Hey, let's wrap it up for today. That was it was fun to chat about RPGs as usual, and thank you for watching stuff that I don't have to. I don't have anything else to say, but thanks for everybody for hanging out. Uh, we are. I want to talk about next week. This is a surprise. Next week is the Bone Bat Comedy of Horrors Film Festival in Seattle. So come up and say hi if you're into that sort of thing. But I probably will not be here for a show next week.
Oh, I want to clarify that animated series stuff. It is the original Star Trek animated series with Spock and Kirk and the Enterprise and Sulu and stuff. It's not the new animated series. I watched one episode, and this will tell you how bad the show is. I watched 4 seasons of Discovery. I watched one episode of Lower Decks, and I couldn't watch any more. That was just too painful to watch. I couldn't review that series. So that's where I place Lower Deck in the hierarchy of bad stuff. Is it was just too much for me. And I'm not even going to try to watch Prodigy. I am just zeroed out on that. I apparently even I have limits.
What it,
I
you know, I don't. I'm not going to ask because I don't care. I'm done. It was a good chat. Good week, everybody. Take it away, DW.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who listened live. I want to say thank you to everybody who will listen later. We're available on youtube.com/geekgab. That's youtube.com/geekgab. Just about every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and you can adjust the times as obviously for Central and Mountain. Or you can catch us later during the week on SoundCloud.com, on the Apple iTunes Store, or on the Google Play Store. We are available in all those places, and we are seriously considering expanding to other venues and looking into that. Very, very. We just need to get around to do it. That's really what it is. It's laziness. I'm not lying. I just need to go into Amazon and fill it out, and we'll be available on Amazon too. Sue me. I was watching Discovery. You'd have no idea how much that drains a man. You just don't. You have no idea what that does to your strength. You just, I swear, it's like getting afflicted with what they call the yuppie disease, chronic fatigue syndrome. It is like artificially induced chronic fatigue syndrome, man. I'm not lying to you. Okay, I'm actually lying to you. It's not that bad, but
I think you're being facetious.
maybe just a little bit. But we want to say check it out on the device of your choice or watch it on the web. Thank you, everybody. We are signing out for today, but don't you worry. Don't you fret. We will be back.